My name is Laverne Hollis, and I am 66 years old. I am a black woman born and raised in the United States, in a small coastal town called Marigold Shores. For more than 30 years, I worked as a school secretary. I raised one son, Dorian, mostly by myself after his father walked out. The beach house I live in now was my dream. It is a simple 2-story wooden house with blue shutters, right near the ocean. I bought it after I retired, with my savings and a small pension. I always thought this house would be the place where my family came together, where grandkids would run on the sand and I would sit on the porch with sweet tea, watching them play. Before I go deeper into this story, let me talk to you, the one watching this. If you like emotional, powerful, true-style stories like this, where mothers, grandmothers, and older women finally speak their truth, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss the next chapters. Also, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, which city or state, so I know who is sitting with me today while I share my heart. Now, let me tell you about the day my world changed with one sentence. It was a Sunday afternoon. The sky was soft gray, and the sound of the waves outside my window was calm and gentle. I had just finished baking lemon pound cake, the kind Dorian used to beg for when he was a boy. The house smelled like sugar, butter, and lemon zest. I had set the table in the small dining area, the one with the big window that looked out over the dunes. I placed 3 plates there, even though I knew only 2 people were coming. It was a habit I could not break. 1 plate for me, 1 for Dorian, and 1 that sat empty, like it was waiting for someone who never showed up. Dorian had called the day before and said, "Mom, I'm coming by with Naya. We need to talk." Now, when your grown child says those words, "We need to talk," it never feels good. My heart had been nervous all night. I thought maybe they needed money. Maybe their marriage was in trouble. Maybe Naya was pregnant. I tried to prepare myself for anything. I wore my best house dress, a deep green one that made my dark brown skin glow a little. I put on earrings, brushed out my silver curls, and even dabbed perfume behind my ears. I wanted to look like the soft, happy mother who had everything under control. Even if inside I did not. I heard their car door slam outside. My heart started beating faster. Through the window, I saw Dorian step out first. He was tall, with strong shoulders, wearing a neat button-down shirt. He looked like a man who had made it. Good job at the tech company, fancy car, pretty wife. A life far away from the small apartment where I raised him. Naya came out from the passenger side. She was wearing a smooth beige dress that hugged her slim shape, her braids pulled back in a tight bun. Her face was calm, too calm. She was holding her phone in her hand, like it was more important than the ground she was walking on. They came into the house without knocking. That was normal for Dorian. He shouted, "Mom, we're here." I wiped my hands on my apron and walked into the living room with a big smile. "Look at you two," I said. "My handsome son and my beautiful daughter-in-law. Come in, sit down. I made lemon pound cake. Your favorite, Dory." He gave me a quick hug, but it felt stiff, like there was a wall between us. "Thanks, Mom," he said, but he did not sit. Naya gave me a quick side hug, pressing just a shoulder into me. Her perfume was sharp and cold. They did not look around and smile at the house the way they used to. They did not say, "Wow, the ocean looks so nice today," or "It smells good in here, Mom." Instead, they both stayed standing, close together, like they were a team and I was a stranger. A strange stillness settled in the room. The waves outside kept rushing in and out, but inside, it felt like the world had stopped. I tried to make small talk. "How is work, Dory? And you, Naya? How's everything at the salon?" Naya gave a tiny smile. "Busy, Ms. Hollis. Always busy." Dorian looked at her, then at me. His jaw tightened. He took a deep breath and rubbed his hands together. I knew that look. He used to do that before telling me he got in trouble at school. Mom, he said, we really do need to talk. Can we sit? Of course, I said, even though my throat was dry. We all sat on the couch. I sat at one end, Dorian in the middle, Naya at the other side, her leg crossed over the other, bouncing slowly. She did not look at me. She looked at her hands. Dorian cleared his throat again. Mom, this is hard, but we made a decision. A cold feeling started crawling up my back. What decision? I asked. He glanced at Naya again. She finally looked up at him and gave a small nod, like she was giving him permission. Then he looked at me. Straight at me. Mom, he said slowly, we're leaving tomorrow. I blinked. Leaving where? Out of state, he said. We're moving to Colorado. My job is transferring me. It's a big step up. Better money, better schools for when we have kids. My chest hurt. Tomorrow? Dorian, tomorrow is so soon. When were you going to tell me? That's what we're doing now, he said, like that solved it. I tried to swallow, but my mouth was dry. Okay, I said slowly. If you're moving, that's big. But why do you look like you're about to tell me something worse? Dorian shifted in his seat. He pressed his lips together. Because there is one more thing, he said. Naya finally spoke, her voice smooth but cold. We already took care of everything, Ms. Hollis. It's all done. My heart started pounding even louder. Took care of what? Dorian took a deep breath, and then he said the sentence that cracked my whole world open. Mom, he said, we're leaving tomorrow. I sold your beach house. The words hit me like a wave I did not see coming. For a moment, I thought I heard wrong. I stared at him, my ears ringing. You what? I whispered. He could not look me in the eyes. He glanced at the window instead, at the dunes, at the ocean I had worked all my life to sit beside. The house, Mom, he repeated quietly. I sold it. Naya crossed her arms. It was the smart thing to do, she added. You're getting older. It's too much for you. You do not need all this space. Besides, the market is good right now. I felt my hands shaking. My voice came out as a broken whisper. This is my home, Dorian. This is my house. How can you sell my house? Dorian finally looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I had never seen before. Not just guilt. Not just fear. Something darker. Something I did not yet understand. Because, Mom, he said, technically. He stopped, and the look he gave Naya was not just nervous. It was scared. She glared at him, a warning in her eyes. I leaned forward, my heart hammering. Technically what, Dorian? I demanded. He opened his mouth to speak. And that was the moment the doorbell rang, loud and sharp, cutting through the thick silence. All three of us jumped. Dorian's face went pale. Naya's hand flew to her mouth. I stared at them, my heart racing even faster now. Who is that? I asked. Dorian did not answer. He stood up slowly, like his legs were heavy, and walked toward the door. I watched him reach for the handle, my whole body trembling, a cold fear growing inside me. Because in that moment, I knew something for sure. Whoever was standing on the other side of that door was about to tell me the part of the story my own son was too afraid to say out loud. Dorian froze with his hand on the door. And Naya, she didn't blink. She sat stiff, her eyes fixed on him like she was sending silent instructions. Something about the way they looked at each other made my stomach twist. This wasn't just a surprise visit. This wasn't just, we need to talk. This was fear. Real fear. The doorbell rang again, louder this time. Dorian finally opened it. A tall man in a brown delivery uniform stood there, holding a clipboard and a thick white envelope. "Package for Laverne Hollis," he said. "For me. Not for them. For me." Dorian immediately stepped in front of the doorway. "I'll take it," he said quickly, snatching the envelope. The delivery man frowned. Sir, she needs to sign." "She's busy," Dorian snapped. "I said I'll take it." He slammed the door shut. Too fast. Too nervous. He turned around, holding the envelope against his chest like it was something dangerous, something he didn't want me to touch. "What is that?" I asked. He didn't answer. He took a slow breath, then looked at Naya. She gave him a tiny nod. The same nod she gave him before he told me they were moving. The same nod she gave him before he told me he sold my home. My heart squeezed tight. They were working together. Against me. I stood up from the couch, my voice shaking. "Dorian, what is in that envelope?" He didn't look me in the eyes. He held the envelope out like it was burning his hand. "Mom, please, let's not make this harder." "No," I snapped. "You just told me you sold my house without my permission. Now a package shows up with my name on it and you won't let me even see it? Dorian Hollis, I am your mother. Give me that envelope." For a moment, he looked like the little boy who used to hide behind me when thunder scared him. But Naya grabbed his arm. "Don't," she hissed. "Not yet. Not yet." My hands curled into fists. "Naya," I said slowly, "move away from my son." She didn't move. She whispered sharply in his ear. "Remember what we agreed. Do not let her see it." My chest got tight. What agreement? Dorian swallowed hard. "Mom, the house, the paperwork. There were some things we had to sign. Some legal things. But it's all for your own good. For my own good," I repeated. My voice echoed through the quiet room. "I'm 66, not helpless. I don't need you two deciding what's good for me. Hand me that envelope." Naya took a step forward, holding up her hand like she was blocking me. "Ms. Hollis, listen. You're getting older. Managing this property is too much for you. This house is worth a lot of money. Instead of letting it go to waste, we made a responsible decision." "Responsible?" I whispered. "You sold the home I worked my whole life for." Dorian's voice cracked. "Mom, I didn't want to do this, but things were complicated." "What things?" He didn't answer. Then he dropped the envelope. It fell to the floor like a stone hitting water. I stepped forward before he could stop me, picked it up, and tore it open. A stack of papers slid out. I stared at the first page. My breath caught in my throat. My knees almost buckled. It was a legal document. Signed. Stamped. Filed. Transfer of property ownership. Seller: Laverne Hollis. Buyer: unknown. Co-signed by Dorian Hollis. Signed on behalf of seller by Naya Collins, authorized family agent. Authorized agent? For me. I never signed anything. I never gave permission. My hands shook as I flipped the next page. And that's when I saw it. A signature. My signature. Except it wasn't mine. It was a sloppy copy, the loops all wrong, the letters shaped like someone rushing through a lie. Someone forged my name. I heard myself whisper, "No, no, this can't be real." Dorian stepped toward me, tears filling his eyes. "Mom, listen, please." But I staggered back. "You forged my signature?" He dropped his hands. His shoulders sagged. His face crumpled. "I didn't want to," he whispered. "I swear I didn't. I didn't know what else to do." Naya's voice sharpened. Stop apologizing. She left us no choice. No choice. I said. I left you no choice. Naya lifted her chin. You're alone here. You fall sometimes. You forget things. You had no plan for the future. I don't forget anything, I snapped. And you don't know what happens in my home. Naya crossed her arms. Look, Ms. Hollis. The house is gone. The money is coming. You'll be fine. My voice cracked with anger. Where is the money? That question made both of them freeze. Completely. Like I had said the one thing they prayed I would never ask. I stepped closer, my eyes locked on my son. Where is my money? He didn't answer. He wouldn't even look at me. Naya tried to speak, but he lifted a shaky hand to stop her. He closed his eyes and whispered, barely loud enough to hear. Mom, the money is gone. I felt the world tilt under my feet. Gone. He nodded slowly. It's all gone. I backed away from them both, the papers trembling in my hands. How? I whispered. Where did it go? Naya looked away. Dorian's shoulders sank deeper. It went to someone, he said softly. Someone you're going to meet right now. Before I could speak, a shadow moved behind the curtains. A figure stepped onto my porch, and the doorknob began to turn. Whoever took every dollar from my home sale was already inside my house. The doorknob turned slowly, too slowly, like the person on the other side wanted us to feel every second of fear. Dorian backed away from the door. Naya straightened her dress, wiped her palms on her thighs, and whispered, Remember what we agreed. Let me talk. You stay quiet. My heart hammered against my ribs. All my life, I had heard that when you get older, life gets calmer, peaceful, predictable. But nothing about this moment felt calm. The door opened. A tall man stepped inside. A stranger. He wore a smooth black jacket, gold watch, and a clean haircut. He looked around 50, maybe a few years younger than my son. His skin was deep brown, his eyes sharp and confident. He walked into my house like he had done it before. Like he belonged there. Like he had keys. He didn't smile. He didn't greet me. He just closed the door gently behind him, slid his hands into his pockets, and stared at me like I was the one intruding on his space. Dorian lowered his head. Naya stepped beside the man like she knew him well. My stomach dropped. Oh God. Who was this man? He looked at me first, then at the envelope in my hand. Then he spoke, his voice low and calm. Ms. Hollis, he said. I've been waiting a long time to meet you. My throat went dry. And you are. His lips curled into a small smile. The person who bought your house. The room spun. You. I whispered. You bought my house? Dorian's eyes stayed glued to the floor. Naya spoke up. His name is Quincy. Quincy stepped farther into the living room, his shoes barely making a sound on my wooden floor. He moved like a man used to power. A man used to getting what he wanted. I paid cash, he said casually. In full. My breath caught. Cash. Yes, ma'am. There is a buyer's agreement. Approved, processed, and complete. I came today to finalize the last step. I blinked. What step? He brushed invisible dust off his jacket. To make sure you're out by tomorrow morning. My knees felt weak. Out, Dorian whispered. Mom, please just listen. Quincy held up his hand. Let her ask her questions, Dorian. She deserves that much. He turned back to me, his eyes cool and empty. You see, Ms. Hollis, this is business. And business doesn't wait. My voice cracked. You stole my home. No, he said calmly. I bought it. They sold it. He nodded toward Naya. She handled the paperwork. Smart woman, that one. Naya smiled a small, proud smile. Like ripping my life apart was impressive. But Quincy wasn't done. He walked slowly toward my dining table. His fingers glided along the wood. This house, he said, is worth a lot more than you think. Oceanfront. Good location. Developers want it. Investors want it. I want it. He turned back to me. Now it's mine. Something inside me snapped. This is my home. You can't just throw me out. He tilted his head. Legally. I can. And I will. Dorian stepped forward. Quincy, please man, not today. Quincy shut him up with one look. One cold stare. Dorian's mouth closed instantly. I stared at my son, my only child, and for the first time in my life, he looked small, weak, controlled. Like a boy standing next to a bully he owed money to. Slowly, painfully, I started connecting pieces in my mind. Pieces I didn't want to see. I looked at Quincy. You didn't just buy my house, did you? He smiled softly. He finally told you. Good. Told me what? That your son owes me money. My world went silent. Money. Owed. To this man. I felt my palms go cold. What kind of money? Quincy walked closer to Dorian. Stood behind him. Placed a hand on his shoulder. A lot, Quincy said. A whole lot. Dorian looked sick. Naya looked bored. Quincy looked pleased. He continued. Your son is talented. Smart. He just made some bad decisions. Borrowed money for a business idea. Promised big returns. Didn't follow through. He came to me. I gave him what he needed. With interest. My voice trembled. How much interest? Quincy held up 3 fingers. Triple. 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 I could barely breathe. How much does he owe you? Dorian whispered. Mom. I didn't mean for it to go this far. How much, Dorian? Quincy answered instead. $270,000. My knees gave out. I caught the edge of the couch before I fell. I whispered in disbelief. That's why you sold my house? For his debt. Quincy smiled. That's why they sold it. They needed fast cash. And I pay fast. My son couldn't lift his head. Naya didn't even look sorry. I turned to Dorian. You used my home, my life savings, my retirement, to pay this man? Tears streamed down his face. Mom. I didn't want to do it. I swear. But I was drowning. Quincy said if I didn't pay. Quincy cut him off calmly. Let's not dramatize things. But Dorian kept talking, crying harder. He said he'd come after me, Mom. He said he'd take everything. He said he'd. Quincy snapped. That's enough. I felt cold all over. My son, my child, the boy I raised alone, was caught in something dangerous. And my home was the price. I tried to stand tall, even though my legs trembled. You're not throwing me out tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere. Quincy stepped closer. Too close. I could smell his cologne. He leaned in slightly and whispered, Ms. Hollis, you're not the one in charge here. He stepped back, smiled, and said, I'll be back at sunrise. Have your things packed. He turned and walked toward the front door. But before he opened it, he paused, looked back at me, and said something that froze every drop of blood in my body. Besides, this was never really about the house. He glanced at Naya. At Dorian. Then back at me. It was always about you. My heart stopped. What did you say? He just smiled. A cold, knowing smile. Then he walked out the door. The moment it closed behind him, I felt the ground shift under my feet. What did he mean it was about me? What did Quincy want from me personally? What had my son dragged me into? And the worst question of all, what was going to happen at sunrise? For a long moment, after Quincy closed the door, nobody moved. The only sound in the room was the soft crash of the ocean outside, calm and steady, the complete opposite of the storm inside my chest. Dorian stood in the middle of the living room, head bowed, hands shaking. Naya sat back down on the couch, legs crossed, tapping her nails on her thigh like she was waiting for a rideshare. And I stood there holding the forged papers, feeling like the ground had opened under my feet. The man who bought my home did not buy it because of money. He bought it because of me. Those were his words. And it was that sentence that scared me more than anything else. I finally found my voice. Dorian. Look at me. He wiped his face with his sleeve, but he couldn't lift his head. Look at me, I repeated. Slowly, painfully, he raised his eyes. They were red, swollen, defeated. Why did he say this was about me? I asked softly. What have you done? He opened his mouth to speak, but Naya jumped in quickly. Don't start panicking, Ms. Hollis. He didn't mean anything by it. Quincy says dramatic things. It's his style. I turned my gaze to her. Don't talk for him. Don't talk for my son. I'm asking Dorian. She stiffened but kept quiet. Dorian swallowed hard. Mom. Quincy's been around for a while. Longer than you think. This started last year. Last year. A whole year. And I didn't know? Why didn't you tell me? I asked, voice trembling. Because I was ashamed, he whispered. And because I thought I could fix it. How? He stared at the floor. By paying him off with the house. I thought once he got the money, he'd disappear. But he didn't disappear, I said. He walked into my house like he owns my life. Dorian didn't respond. He just cried quietly, shoulders shaking. For a moment, I felt a softness in my heart. He was my child. My only child. And I knew he never grew up with much. He always wanted more. Better. Bigger. And sometimes, that hunger makes people do things they would never normally do. But softness cannot cover betrayal. Not this kind. I sat down slowly, feeling years heavier than when I stood. I laid the forged documents on the table in front of me. You let your wife sign my name, I said. And you let a stranger take my home. It wasn't supposed to go this far, Dorian whispered. I was desperate. And you didn't think about me? He covered his face. I thought you'd be safer somewhere smaller. Somewhere easier. Naya finally spoke again, her voice sharp. Look, Ms. Hollis, we really did this to help you. You're older. You don't need a big house on the ocean. You don't even have grandkids running around here. You're alone. You should be somewhere closer to family. Family, I said quietly. You mean the same family who forged my signature and sold my home? She shifted her eyes away. Well, she said, you weren't doing anything with it. The house was just sitting here. I stared at her. No apology. No guilt. Nothing. I finally understood something. She didn't see me as a mother-in-law. She didn't see me at all. She saw me as a barrier. An obstacle. Something to step over so she and Dorian could walk into the life they wanted. I turned back to Dorian. You were scared, I said. But she wasn't. He opened his mouth to defend her, but stopped. Because he knew I was right. I stood up slowly and walked to the window, looking at the ocean. The same ocean I worked 30 years to live beside. The same ocean that gave me peace when my marriage failed. When my parents died. When I felt alone in this world. Now someone else owned it. Owned my view. Owned my walls. Owned my memories. But something stronger than fear rose inside me. A fire I thought had died with age. I turned back to them. I want the truth, I said. All of it. Dorian wiped his face. Mom. It's not just the money. My chest tightened. What else? He hesitated. Looked at Naya. She didn't speak. But she gave him that same nod. That controlling, icy nod. And he obeyed her. Always her. It's you, he said softly. Quincy didn't just want the house. He wanted access to you. My heart stopped. What? Naya stood up quickly. Dorian, no, don't say it like that. He ignored her. He said you reminded him of someone from his past. He said you owed him something. He said once he got the house, he'd come see you himself. I shook my head slowly. I've never met that man in my life. That's the thing, Mom, Dorian said. He said you wouldn't remember him. A strange shiver ran through me. Not fear. Memory. Something buried. Something old. I tried to speak, but the words stuck in my throat. What does he want with me? I whispered. Dorian didn't answer. He cried harder. He looked terrified. Naya finally spoke, her voice low. Laverne. This isn't just about debt. It's about something that happened a long time ago. Something Quincy swears you were part of. I stepped back. What? What could I have possibly done to that man? Dorian whispered. He said he'd explain everything at sunrise. Sunrise. When he would return. When he expected me to be packed. When he said he wanted me. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. What does he think I did? Naya swallowed hard. She finally looked scared. He said you ruined his life. My breath stopped. And he said he's here to ruin yours back. A cold wind shook the window. The whole house felt darker. Smaller. Unsafe. I looked at the clock. It was almost sunset. Less than 12 hours until sunrise. Until Quincy came back. Until he told the truth I didn't even know existed. And deep inside me, something whispered that the truth would not just break my son. It would break me too. I stood there frozen, staring at both of them like they had just spoken a language I didn't understand. What did they mean I ruined his life? What did they mean there was something from my past? My past was simple. I worked. I raised my boy. I survived. There were no deep secrets. No crimes. No scandals. So what did Quincy think I did to him? The air felt heavy. Like the walls themselves were listening. I took a shaky breath and said it again, louder this time. What does he think I did? Naya opened her mouth, but Dorian lifted his hand. No, he said, wiping his eyes. I'll tell her. He sat down on the couch like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. I sat across from him, but I never took my eyes off his face. I needed answers. He took another deep breath. Mom. Quincy told us something that didn't make sense at first. We didn't believe him. But when he showed proof, I felt my heart skip. What proof? A name, Dorian whispered. A name from your past. I shook my head slowly. My past is not connected to that man. But Dorian didn't look convinced. Or hopeful. He looked broken. Who? I whispered. What name? He wouldn't say it. He looked physically unable to speak. So Naya stepped in quietly. Her voice sounded different now. Less sharp, more careful. Laverne. He mentioned a man named Russell. The room went silent. Dead silent. My body went cold. My breath hitched. My fingers went numb. That name. I hadn't heard in over 40 years. 40 years. And suddenly the ocean outside, the wind through the windows, even the distant sound of birds, all of it disappeared. There was only the name. Russell. A name I had buried deep, so deep I prayed it would never claw its way back to the surface. I whispered, barely audible. Russell. Woods. Dorian slowly nodded. Yes. My eyes closed. My chest tightened. Memories I had locked away forced themselves back into my mind. I hadn't spoken that name in decades. I hadn't allowed myself to. Because remembering Russell felt like reopening a wound that never truly healed. Naya leaned forward. So you know him? I opened my eyes slowly. Yes. I knew him. She frowned. But Quincy said you knew him well. I shook my head, my voice trembling. No. Not well. I only met him once. Once. One time. One encounter that wasn't supposed to mean anything. But even a small moment can cast a long shadow. I stood up and walked to the window. The ocean outside felt like it was holding its breath with me. When I was 24, I said quietly, I worked nights at a small diner off Highway 15. Russell came in one night drunk, angry, yelling at everyone. The owner told him to leave. He refused. He grabbed one of the waitresses by her wrist. I called the police. My hands trembled. He was arrested. He lost his job the next week. His life unraveled after that. I turned around to face them. I never saw him again. Naya stared at me like a puzzle piece had just fallen into place. That's what Quincy said. My brows furrowed. What does that have to do with him? Dorian swallowed hard. Because Russell Woods was his father. My entire world tilted. What? Dorian nodded slowly. Quincy says you destroyed his father's future. Because Russell blamed you for getting him arrested. He said you cost him everything. No, I whispered. I didn't cost him anything. He assaulted someone. Russell told a different story, Naya said softly. He told Quincy that you lied on him. That you called the police to punish him. That he spent years trying to put his life back together but never could. I shook my head over and over. No. No. I didn't lie. I didn't punish anyone. I called for help. Dorian whispered. Quincy said his father died angry, bitter, homeless. And he told his son before he died. One woman destroyed me. Find her. I sat back down, my knees too weak to hold me. And he thinks that woman is me? I asked. He knows it's you, Dorian said. He has records. Police reports. Old newspaper notes. The diner address. Your name on the statement. My hands went cold. My breath came shallow. I remembered that night like it was yesterday. Russell yelling. The waitress crying. My shaking fingers dialing 911. The officer saying, Ma'am, you did the right thing. I never imagined that one small thing, one act to protect another woman, would come back after 40 years. But here it was, larger than ever, standing on my porch at sunset, returning at sunrise. Naya spoke again. Quincy said he's not here to hurt you, not physically. He said he wants you to feel what his father felt. I looked up sharply. Feel what? Loss, she whispered. Losing your home. Losing your peace. Losing your comfort. Losing your stability. A slow breath escaped me. So he bought my house. As revenge. Dorian wiped his eyes. He said it wasn't about the money. It was about taking something from you the way he believes you took something from his father. I looked toward the window. The sky outside was turning orange. The night was coming. And sunrise was getting closer. I held the forged papers in my hands, staring at them, feeling an old fire I hadn't felt in years rise inside me. I didn't destroy Russell Woods, I whispered. He destroyed himself. Dorian looked at me like a child again. Mom, what are we going to do? I turned away from the ocean and finally faced both of them. My voice steadier, stronger, colder. We're not waiting until sunrise, I said. We're leaving this house tonight. Both of them froze. Where are we going? Dorian asked. I walked to the hallway closet, pulled out a dusty wooden box, and placed it on the table. Naya frowned. What is that? I lifted the lid. Inside was a thick envelope, a key, a folded map, and something else they didn't expect. Something Quincy didn't expect. I never kept all my money in this house, I said quietly. And I never needed anyone to save me. I snapped the box shut. Pack your things, I said. We're going to the one place Quincy will never dare follow us. Their eyes widened, because they knew, wherever I meant, held a secret of its own. Dorian and Naya stared at the wooden box like it was glowing, like they didn't know whether to trust it or fear it. Dorian wiped his eyes. Mom, where are we going? I rested my palm on the lid of the box. This house may be gone, but I am not. Naya folded her arms. Ms. Hollis, you can't just run from Quincy. He's not the kind of man you hide from. I looked her straight in the eyes. I've been hiding things longer than you've been alive. She backed up a little. Good. It was time she saw who she was dealing with. I opened the box again. Inside was the thick envelope marked emergency, written in my handwriting from years ago. Dorian frowned. What's in there? Enough to keep us safe, I said. He stepped closer. Money. More than money. Naya raised an eyebrow. What else do you have? Weapons. I gave her a long, slow look. No. Something stronger than that. Her confidence cracked a little. I lifted the envelope and slid out a folded paper. A faded photograph slipped out with it. Dorian picked it up. Mom, who are these people? The photo showed two young women standing in front of a broken-down farmhouse. One of them was me at 27. The other was my sister. A sister I hadn't spoken to in years. Naya blinked. You have family? Yes, I said quietly. And a whole life you don't know anything about. I opened the folded paper. A hand-drawn map of back roads, highways, and a secluded dirt path rested between my fingers. The ink had faded, but the directions were clear. Dorian's voice cracked. What is this? A place no one knows about, I said. Not friends. Not neighbors. Not even you. Naya stepped closer. Why would you hide a house? Why would you hide family? I lifted my eyes slowly. There are reasons. Dorian swallowed hard. Mom, what happened between you and Aunt Nadine? Hearing her name hit me like a memory I wasn't ready for. I'll tell you, I said quietly. But not here. I grabbed the old brass key from inside the box and held it tight. Cold metal. Heavy. Familiar. We're leaving in the next hour, I said. Pack only what you need. Naya frowned. You really think we can just walk out of here and disappear? Yes, I said. And I'm going to tell you why. I sat down, motioned for both of them to sit. Dorian sat. Naya hesitated, then sat too. I took a slow breath and opened a door I'd kept shut for 40 years. When I left home at 27, I didn't just walk away from a bad childhood, I began. I walked away from danger. Dorian blinked. Danger. Yes. Naya leaned in. What kind of danger? My sister Nadine and I grew up in a house full of secrets. My parents owned land. Good land. Land people wanted. Land people were willing to do anything to take. I felt the old fear crawl up my spine. So they fought for it, I said. With lawyers. With neighbors. With people you don't want knocking on your doors. Dorian's eyes widened. Mom, what are you saying? I'm saying, I whispered, that I learned how to disappear long before Quincy ever tried to scare me. Naya's lips parted. You ran before? Yes. I looked out the window at the ocean. When things got bad back then, I went to a safe house out in the hills. A house nobody knew about. Not even the sheriff. Not even our relatives. Dorian swallowed. You lived there. For nearly 3 years, I said. Until things calmed down. Until Nadine and I decided to go our separate ways. I closed the wooden box gently. Quincy thinks he knows everything about me. But he doesn't know this. Naya leaned forward, curiosity breaking through her coldness. Who owns that safe house now? I do, I said. And it's still hidden. Still off the books. Still protected. Dorian rubbed his forehead. So we're running to that house? Tonight. Yes. Before Quincy comes back. He nodded slowly, then whispered. What if he follows us? He won't, I said. Why? Naya asked. I looked them both in the eye. Because the last time someone tried to follow me to that house, they never came back. Naya's face went pale. Dorian froze. I stood. Taller than before. Stronger than I'd felt in years. I'm not just some old woman Quincy can scare. I survived more dangerous men than him. The wind rattled the window. The last bit of sunlight faded. We leave in 1 hour, I repeated. Pack your bags. Don't take anything that will slow you down. Dorian nodded. Naya hesitated. But neither of them said a word. As they went to gather their things, I walked to the back door and looked at the ocean one last time. I placed my hand on the glass and whispered, You won't take everything from me, Quincy. Then I turned away. Ready to move. Ready to protect my child. Ready to face a past I never thought I'd see again. But as I walked down the hallway, something made me stop. A soft sound. A gentle tapping. Not at the front door. Not at the windows. It was coming from my bedroom. Inside the room. Inside the house. My heart thumped. I stepped slowly inside, the room dim and quiet. And on my bed was a folded note I hadn't seen before. Someone had already been inside. My hands shook as I picked it up and opened it. Inside, written in sharp, angry handwriting, were 7 words. You can run tonight. But I know where you're going. My blood went cold. He knew. He knew about the safe house. He knew about Nadine. He knew everything. And sunrise was no longer the deadline. He was already close. Watching. Listening. Waiting. And I had no idea how much danger we were truly in. I stood there staring at the note on my bed, the handwriting shaking in my hands. He knew. He knew about the one place I thought was untouchable. The place I believed no one alive could trace. How? How could Quincy know about Nadine? About the safe house? About the map I'd kept hidden for decades? My breath came thin and sharp. A cold fear crawled across my skin and settled deep in my bones. Somebody had told him. Somebody close. Somebody who knew me well enough to know where I'd run. Somebody who heard the stories. Somebody who had been inside this house long enough to hear conversations I barely remembered having. But who? I slipped the note into my pocket and stepped quietly back toward the living room. I needed answers. And I needed them now. Dorian was in the hallway stuffing clothes into a duffel bag. His hands trembled every time he zipped a pocket. He looked like a man who knew the world behind him was on fire. Naya, meanwhile, walked around the living room angrily, throwing her jewelry, makeup, and shoes into a suitcase like she was packing for a weekend trip instead of running from a man who wanted revenge. "Where's my charger?" she snapped at Dorian. He didn't answer. She rolled her eyes. "You can't even find simple things and you think you can hide from Quincy? Please." I stared at her quietly, coldly, long enough for her to notice. "What?" she snapped. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Who told him?" I asked. She frowned. "Told who what?" "Who told Quincy about Nadine? About the hills? About the safe house?" Naya scoffed. "Ms. Hollis, nobody told him anything. He finds out his own way. He has people everywhere." People everywhere. That wasn't an answer. I turned to Dorian. "Did you tell him?" He shook his head instantly. "No, Mom. I swear. I never told him about your sister or anything from your past." "But you told him about me," I said quietly. He couldn't deny that. He lowered his head. "Yes." I stepped closer. "And you told him enough that he went digging." He closed his eyes. "I'm sorry, Mom. I really am." Before I could say anything else, we heard it. A soft thump on the porch. All three of us froze. Naya clutched her suitcase. Dorian slowly pulled me behind him. My heart galloped in my chest. But the thump didn't come again. Dorian slowly walked to the window and peeked through the blinds. He let out a shaky breath. "It's just a package. Probably another delivery." "Another," I said. "Who keeps sending packages at this time of night?" He frowned. No answer. Fear washed over his face. "I'll check it," he whispered. But before he could reach the door, I grabbed his arm. "No," I said. "No more opening doors without knowing who's on the other side." We all stepped closer. The porch light flickered slightly, and I could see the package through the window. A small black box, clean and simple, sitting neatly like someone placed it with care. No address. No label. No stamp. Just a box. My stomach twisted. "This isn't a delivery," I said. Naya stepped back. "I'm not touching that." Neither was I. I looked at Dorian. "We need to leave. Now." He nodded quickly. "Yes. Let's grab the bags and go." I went to my room to get the wooden box. But when I reached the dresser, I felt something cold, a breeze. The window was slightly open. Just enough for someone to slip something inside. I froze. Someone had been in my room more than once. And that wasn't the worst part. On the dresser, beside where the wooden box had been, was something I didn't expect. A photograph. A fresh one. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The picture showed me standing outside the diner from my youth. The night Russell was arrested. The same night Quincy believed destroyed his father's life. Except, the picture looked new. Sharper. Like it had been printed recently. My breath hitched. Who had this? How did they get it? And why leave it here? Footsteps. Behind me. I turned quickly. Dorian stood in the doorway. "Mom," he whispered. "We need to go. Now." I held up the picture. "How does Quincy have this?" His eyes widened. I don't know." "You didn't tell him about that night?" I asked. "No, Mom," he said. "I didn't even know this happened." Truth. He looked genuinely confused. Genuinely scared. So if it wasn't Dorian. I heard a soft click. I turned. Naya stood in the doorway now too, her arms crossed tight, face pale and stiff. I didn't tell him anything, she said quickly. Before I could accuse her. She swallowed hard. But someone did. Someone close. Who? I asked. The only person who knew both your past and Dorian's mistakes, she whispered. My heart stopped. What are you talking about? Naya stepped deeper into the room. She looked shaken now. Not cold, not confident, but truly scared. Ms. Hollis. Quincy never said his name. He kept it quiet. But he mentioned something. What? He said he didn't just come for revenge. Her voice dropped. He came for a debt. A debt. She nodded. A debt owed to him by someone close to you. Someone who promised him something a long time ago. A long time ago. Closer than I expected. I whispered. Who? She looked me straight in the eyes. Your sister. Everything inside me went still. Nadine. Yes. He said she owed him. And he said if you didn't pay her debt, he'd take it out of you instead. The room spun. I felt my knees wobble, my head swimming. And then, before I could even breathe, a loud voice boomed from the living room. It's too late to run. Dorian jumped. Naya gasped. I turned slowly, my blood ice cold. A man stood inside my house. Inside. Not at the door. Not on the porch. Not outside. Inside. Tall. Dark jacket. Cold eyes. Hands in his pockets. Like he belonged there. Quincy. He smiled slowly. A smile that chilled me to the bone. You should have left when you had the chance. I backed up until I hit the dresser. My heart pounded. My breath caught. He stepped forward. Calm. Measured. Hungry for something I didn't yet understand. Your sister made a promise 40 years ago, he said. And you're the one who's going to pay it. I swallowed hard. What did she promise you? His smile widened. That's the part she forgot to tell you. He stepped closer. Closer. Then whispered. She promised me you. His words cut through the room like a blade. She promised me you. For a moment, I could not breathe. Could not blink. Could not think. Dorian stepped in front of me. Quincy man, don't do this. Whatever this is, leave my mother out of it. Quincy didn't even look at him. He kept his eyes on me. Sharp. Focused. Vengeful. Your aunt didn't leave your mother out of it, he said. And now she pays her debt. Naya whispered. What debt, Quincy? What does Nadine have to do with this? Quincy finally spoke the truth. The whole truth. 40 years ago when I testified against Russell, Nadine, my own sister, begged me not to. Not because she cared about Russell. Not because she cared about justice. But because she had been secretly involved with him. And she was terrified that if Russell went down, she would go down with him. She wasn't just a bystander. She was part of what he was doing. Scams, fake land deals, threatening folks for money. When Russell got arrested because I called the police, he was facing real jail time. Real consequences. And Nadine panicked. She found Quincy, then a teenager, and told him, if you protect me, I'll make sure one day you get revenge on the woman who put your father in jail. I blinked hard. Nadine said that? Quincy nodded. She said you deserved to pay for his downfall. She said you ruined all our lives. She told me you were heartless. Dangerous. My knees weakened. I sank into the chair. My own sister. My blood. My childhood partner. Had planted the seed of revenge in this man's heart. And he had watered it for 40 years. Dorian gripped my shoulders. Mom, Why didn't you ever tell me this? I shook my head. Because I didn't know. Nadine never told me. She acted like she hated Russell, not loved him. Quincy's voice hardened. Well, she lied. She lied to protect herself. She lied to shift blame. And when she died 2 years ago, her debt fell to you. I swallowed. She's been dead 2 years? Yes, he said. And she never once admitted she lied about you. Never once told me the truth. So I came here, to finish what she started. But then something shifted. Something in Quincy's eyes. Something in his breath. He looked at the picture on my dresser. The one I found earlier. And he walked toward it slowly. He picked it up. Stared at it. That night at the diner, he said softly. My father always said you lied about him. That he didn't hurt anyone. That you called the police because you wanted him in jail. I stood slowly. Your father grabbed a waitress. Hard. I saw it with my own eyes. She begged him to let her go. Quincy's jaw tightened. No. He told me. He told you the version that made him a victim, I said. But you're a grown man now. You know people lie. You know abusers twist the story. His brow furrowed. His eyes flickered. His anger fought with confusion. I kept talking. You want to avenge him? Fine. But tell yourself the truth first. He swallowed. What truth? That you never actually asked for the police files, I said. You never talked to the waitress he grabbed. You never checked if Russell had a record before that night. You never asked who he hurt. You never asked who he scared. Silence. Then I said the one sentence that shook him. You built your whole life on your father's lie. His eyes widened. He stepped back. No, he whispered. I saw the file. No, I said gently. You saw what your father wanted you to see. He hid the rest. He looked at the picture again. His hands trembled. His breath came rough and uneven. Naya whispered. Ms. Hollis, keep talking. Quincy's voice cracked. He wasn't a bad man. He wasn't. I stepped closer. He hurt people, Quincy. And your sister Nadine hid it. And because she was scared, she poisoned you with her fear. He blinked fast, almost like a child trying not to cry. My father wouldn't have done that. You said Nadine begged you not to go to the police, right? He nodded slowly. Why? He froze. Confusion swallowed his anger. Why, I repeated, would a clean, innocent woman be terrified of the police? The truth hit him like a blow. He stumbled back a step. His hands dropped. Naya covered her mouth. Oh my God. He never thought about that. I kept my voice soft. You lost your father young. You loved him. I understand. But loving someone doesn't erase what they did. It doesn't turn a lie into the truth. Dorian stepped beside me. Quincy, don't destroy your life trying to fix his mistakes. Quincy looked at the picture one last time. Then slowly, he set it down. He wiped his face. Took a long breath. And for the first time, the anger drained from his eyes. Replaced by something else. Something raw. Something human. Pain. I spent 40 years chasing a lie, he whispered. 40 years thinking you ruined us. I nodded gently. I didn't ruin anything. I stopped a man from hurting someone. That's it. He closed his eyes. Then opened them slowly. You can keep your house, he said quietly. I'll undo the paperwork. Dorian gasped. Naya's knees buckled. Quincy stepped back toward the door. I'm sorry, he said softly. Not to Dorian. Not to Naya. To me. For all of it. And then. Without another word, he left. Just walked out. As quietly as he came. The moment the door closed behind him, the whole house felt lighter, safer, free. Dorian grabbed me and pulled me into a shaking hug. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Naya knelt beside us, crying. I didn't know how dangerous this would get. I held them both. Because forgiveness is heavy, but carrying bitterness is heavier. You two will make this right, I said softly. You will rebuild trust. You will make better choices. Starting today. They both nodded through tears. I looked out the window at the rising sun. Peaceful, bright, warm. After 40 years, the past had finally let go of me. And I had let go of it. Sometimes revenge ruins hearts. But truth sets everyone free. Thank you for watching this story. If this touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss another emotional story like this. Also, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I would love to know which part of the country you are joining me from.